It's a shame that the Chunin exam finals was interrupted. I've actually made a video about what would have happened if Orochimaru didn't attack during the Chunin exams, so if you wanted to know who would have won it all, I'll try to remember to leave a link in the description. But today I'll be talking about a different topic. Recently I made a video about how a free-for-all at the Kage Summit would have gone down, and this video will be very similar. I'll be talking about who would have won the Chunin exam finals if it was a free-for-all to determine who wins. Obviously, with 8 people fighting at once, there's a lot of factors to consider, and many ways this could result. I'm going to talk about different scenarios and how and when every fighter probably gets defeated. First, I'll talk about the weaknesses and strengths of each character in this fight, and then I'll talk about possible scenarios. If you want to skip that part where I talk about each character, then go to this time on the screen. First up is Naruto. I think what's important to say about him is that he's not going to be as powerful as he was while fighting Gaara. The Will of Fire was able to allow him to reach his max potential by doing things such as summoning 2,000 Shadow Clones. It's clear that he did this to protect his teammates, but in this scenario, the only time his Will of Fire will activate would be if Gaara was trying to kill Sasuke or Shikamaru, really. I expect for him to only be able to summon about 100 Shadow Clones at once, which is still very helpful in this situation. His Shadow Clones will be very helpful for taking on multiple enemies at once. He's also got high levels of durability and stamina among his opponents, which is crucial for winning a free-for-all. He's also likely to be underestimated, which will work to his advantage. I'd expect him to be eager to fight Neji for Hinata, but afraid to fight Gaara. I think people forget that Naruto was afraid of Gaara up until he had no other choice but to fight him. Overall, I think Naruto will go far and possibly win, but he lacks a finishing move, which may be his downfall. Next up is Sasuke. The most important thing about him would be his curse mark paralyzing him, because at that point he'd have to forfeit. It only paralyzed him when he ran out of chakra, which is when he used Chidori for the 3rd time that day. He used it a 3rd time because Gaara made him have Itachi flashbacks, and he was trying to defend his village from him. He's not going to use a 3rd Chidori here unless it's for a winning move in the free-for-all. I will say though that Sasuke has a pattern of overdoing it, and low chakra levels may be his demise at the end of the free-for-all. Aside from that, he's a favorite and matches up well against every one of his opponents. He could use his less powerful Chidoris in order to not kill anyone, which would allow him to use more than just 2. I'd say 25% power would be enough to incapacitate everyone except for maybe Gaara. This should mean that he could use 8 at 25%, but I'm not sure if I'm overestimating him or not. Sasuke won't be afraid of anybody and will want to fight the stronger opponents. This includes Naruto, Neji, and Gaara, really. I think he'll go far, and as long as he has enough chakra at the end, he could be the favorite. Next up is Gaara. The most important thing about him would be that he has the largest target on his back. Everyone except Sasuke saw him crush Lee's limbs. Naruto, Shikamaru, and Shino have also seen Gaara try to kill people just cuz, and Tamara and Kankuro know about Gaara's tendencies too. Needless to say, no one wants to be the last one standing against Gaara, but at the same time, few want to face him. Without a doubt, towards the end, people will team up on him, but I'm not certain about early on. I'm also not entirely certain on what Kankuro and Tamara would do either. Anyway, Gaara's defense is very useful here, but not absolute. His offense also is alright, and he won't be holding back at all, so this would help. One weakness would be that if someone draws blood from Gaara, Gaara will freak out and this will make him much more vulnerable. Overall, I don't have high hopes for Gaara because I see him getting ganged up on, but I'd say he's still a dark horse for the win. Next up is Neji. The most important thing about him is that it's going to be near impossible to surprise him and get past his defenses. He has almost 360-degree vision, and his rotation is an omnidirectional defense. This should allow him to easily go the distance in this free-for-all and possibly even win it. I don't think Neji really has any downsides either. He defeated Lee without leg weights, which is better in terms of speed and taijutsu than everyone except for Sasuke, who's roughly equal. He's also demonstrated that he could basically beat Naruto, but the Nine Tails bailed him out. Overall, he should go far and could also do well in a one-on-one matchup at the end. He's definitely one of my favorites to win the whole free-for-all. Next up is Shikamaru. The most important thing about him is that he has the potential to defeat almost anybody with his shadow paralysis. He's likely to hide in the trees and use the shade to his advantage to catch someone by surprise. They'd have to be distracted by someone else to get caught though. Once he's got them, he can just let someone else take a shot at the paralyzed person. I expect Shikamaru to let his opponents fight each other, but I expect him to target the stronger ones early. He'll particularly want to target Gaara because of his killing tendencies. His defense is almost non-existent, but throughout the series it's been shown that he's good at evading attacks. He definitely has the potential to take out one of the better fighters, but I worry about his chakra level as the fight goes on, along with his ability to win towards the end. I expect him to be impactful, but I don't have high hopes for him to win. Next up is Tamari. The most important thing about her and also Kankuro is what they decide to do against Gaara. They don't really have the option to fight him at all, actually. For starters, if they were to attack him during this fight, in the future Gaara would definitely kill them in retaliation. Killing him isn't viable either because they're afraid of him, and acknowledge him as the strongest sibling. You'd think that killing your village's Jinchuriki would be an awkward thing to do, but considering Raza tried to assassinate Gaara several times, this would actually be encouraged. They're not going to do this though, and would forfeit if they were forced to fight him. Back to Temari though. Her wind style has a vast attack radius, and this will be useful against multiple fighters. She has to be careful to not attack Gaara, and Sasuke's fire style is problematic for her too. I imagine Sasuke knows that wind style amps fire style, and Temari doesn't know about his fire style. It really comes down to who shows their chakra element first for that interaction. Other than that, her offense is very good here, but her defense is lacking. Overall, I see her going far, and if Gaara's not in it towards the end, she might have a chance to win. Next up is Kankuro. The most important thing about him is the same as Temari's. Kankuro is in a similar situation as Shikamaru. I expect him to take cover in the trees and try to poison distracted opponents. His poison has very high potential here because it's going to quickly defeat any opponent. I actually see Kankuro probably waiting to attack until Gaara is defeated, but he's not going to help in that area. So overall, he's in the same position as Shikamaru, except he doesn't have to worry about running out of chakra. This might give him a better shot than Shikamaru to win it all, but if Gaara makes it to the end, he's going to have to forfeit. Lastly, there's Shino. The most important thing about him is that he's in almost the exact same position as Kankuro and Shikamaru. His insects will defeat whoever they swarm, but they're slow and have little defense. He shouldn't be held back in the end like Shikamaru and Kankuro though. He won't have to worry about chakra or being afraid of Gaara. This gives him the best chance to win out of the three in my opinion. So how does this free-for-all go down? It'll basically start out with everyone equidistant of each other out in the open. Anyone can forfeit and the proctor will intervene if someone is about to be killed. Anyway, once it begins, Shino, Shikamaru, and Kankuro will definitely go take cover and wait for the right time to intervene. There isn't that much cover in the trees though, and their cover can be destroyed. Temari can destroy them with wind, and Sasuke can with fire style. Naruto can use shadow clones because going near the shadows is a bad idea, and Gaara can use his sand. What matters though is do these characters in the center go for immediate threats or the hidden ones? Naruto is going to be more concerned with what's in front of him, and in Neji, since he wants to be the one to beat Neji. Neji will accept this challenge and view it as a warm-up more or less. Sasuke will want to show off, and who's better than Gaara to do so? He'll want to show his taijutsu and Chidori, and Gaara had a distinct craving for Sasuke's blood in their fight, so I imagine he'll want to do this as well. As for Temari, she'll be rooting for Sasuke really, and she's left with the three that took cover. From her point of view, she doesn't want to eliminate anyone before Gaara, but she wants to stay alive and use others to attack Gaara. This means she'll use her wind style to draw out the three hiders so that they'll enter line of sight and hopefully fight Gaara. This is a hindrance in their ability to fight Gaara, and they'll be forced to make a move. Both Shikamaru and Shino have truly seen how ruthless Gaara is, and will decide to move closer to Gaara in order to aid Sasuke in his fight. Kankuro won't like what Temari is doing, and will decide to attack her from afar. He won't be too serious yet, and he'll be more or less playing footsie with Temari. It's early in the fight, but at this point Naruto and Neji will be heating up, along with Sasuke versus Gaara. Sasuke will have already softened Gaara up some, and damaged his sand armor. Shikamaru will take this opportunity to paralyze Gaara from behind while Sasuke is distracting him. He's done this many times, and one example is letting Asuma distract Hidan while he uses Shadow Possession on Hidan. Gaara stands still too, so this should be even easier, and what could be even easier is if Shikamaru does this after Sasuke knocks Gaara to the ground. One way or another, I'm confident Shikamaru immobilizes Gaara, and then tells someone to finish Gaara off. Sasuke is able to, and he will gladly capitalize. A Chidori at 100% power would get Sasuke elbow deep through Gaara's sand, so 50% should be able to get through Gaara's sand armor. Sasuke will go for a non-vital point, and none of the Gaara sand can stop Chidori here. He'll be wounded quite bad, and will freak once he sees his own blood. Even if Gaara rampages some, the blood loss will be too great, and he'll pass out, which means that he forfeits. So Gaara is the first one to lose due to being teamed up on. He was so outstanding and dangerous that it attracted Sasuke, who wanted to challenge, and Shikamaru, who wanted to stop a murderer. Even if Shikamaru doesn't team up with Sasuke, I see Chidori doing the same thing to Gaara. By the time Gaara is defeated, Neji will have cut off Naruto's chakra network. Shino will be looking to make a move. Temari and Kankuro will stop targeting each other and look to go after Leaf Shinobi. Shikamaru will just be trying to survive, and Sasuke will want to fight the winner of Neji versus Naruto. This is a critical point in the free-for-all, and it's hard to tell what would happen. I do know for sure that Shino will engage Shikamaru though. His Shadow Possession can't stop his bugs, so Shino will see this as a great matchup for himself. Neji will knock down Naruto after he attempts to get back up, but Naruto will get up again. Kankuro will want to be ready to start fighting by now, and will want Naruto to launch some type of comeback. He'll want to show off some by now, and will poison Naruto. Naruto can't recover from this, and will be the second to forfeit. He bit off more than he could chew by fighting Neji. Shino and Shikamaru will still be having their long distance battle, and Shino will be forced to go out in the open in order to avoid Shikamaru's shadow. As for Sasuke, he'll challenge Neji, and it's not like Neji can ignore him. Kankuro will want to join in too, however, but Temari will skip out on this fight. She'll see an exposed Shino fighting Shikamaru, and this will look like a prime opportunity for her. She'll force Shino back into cover, which isn't good for him. Shikamaru's Shadow's Possession and Temari's Wind Style will pressure him greatly. Shikamaru will use Temari's Wind Style to his advantage and catch Shino in his Shadow Possession jutsu. Shino will have planned for this though. His insects eat chakra, and he knows that Shikamaru's jutsu uses chakra since he uses hand signs. He'll have reserved some insects for this moment, and they'll instantly absorb the chakra in the jutsu. They'll also begin to march towards Shikamaru through the jutsu, causing Shikamaru to undo it. This will have distracted Shikamaru long enough that he becomes overwhelmed with insects, just like Kankuro did originally. I know that Shino had to get close to place a female insect on Kankuro, but he didn't have to get close to track Sasuke. This was just convenient for the plot, but in my opinion, Shino should have put a female insect on everyone before the fight. This allows for his insects to know Shikamaru's location at all times. Even if he doesn't overtake Shikamaru here, it's impossible for Shikamaru to beat him in this setting. He wasn't able to plan for Shino's unorthodox arsenal, and he finishes in 6th place. From there, Shino and Temari start a long-distance battle similar to Shikamaru and Temari's. While that's been going down, Kankuro, Sasuke, and Neji will have been fighting. Kankuro doesn't size up to these two, and will be taken down here. None of his attacks are fast enough, and he can't defend against Sasuke and Neji's speed. One way or another, he loses, and this happens shortly after Shikamaru goes down. So what we're left with is Sasuke versus Neji and Shino versus Temari. Shino and Temari is going to drag on for a while, so I'll talk about Sasuke versus Neji first. They'll both be equally fatigued and have expended a similar amount of chakra by this point, meaning that they're at the same disadvantage. So who wins this matchup? Well, when it comes to taijutsu, it's a stalemate. Neji can defeat Rock Lee without leg weights, and Sasuke is a clone of Rock Lee when it comes to taijutsu. So Sasuke is definitely not beating him in that area, but neither is Neji. Sasuke's Sharingan will allow him to predict Neji's movements in advance. The both of them did relatively the same against Naruto's Shadow Clones in the Chunin exams and on the hospital rooftop, so I don't expect this to be the deciding factor here. Eventually Sasuke will realize that taijutsu won't work, and he will move on to ninjutsu. He'll try to use fire style, but Neji's rotation will save him when need be. This only leaves Chidori for Sasuke, but can he defeat Neji with it? When Naruto charged at Neji with the QB Chakra Ramp, Neji decided that he'd use rotation instead of trying a different counter. He'd do the same when looking at Chidori, considering how powerful it looks. So how does Chidori and rotation interact? Well, Naruto and Neji's clash results in an explosion more or less, so how does Chidori compare to Naruto's attack? I wanted to compare the blast radiuses of Sasuke, Chidori in training and Neji and Naruto's clash, but it's not useful. Their clash only showed Neji's rotation in the aftermath, so it's impossible to gauge how strong Naruto's attack was. I do know that there's definitely two scenarios here based on this interaction though. First I need to talk about what Shino and Temari have been doing this entire time, however. Temari will have worn down Shino along with his cover. With Temari in the open, Shino will have been extra careful with his insects here. A wind style jutsu would destroy them and ruin his chances of winning. Both he and Temari are on similar levels of intelligence, but she has all the leverage here. Eventually his cover will be destroyed and his bugs won't be able to trick Temari if they'd have to face her in the open. Eventually he gets defeated around the time Sasuke and Neji's fight is about to conclude. Now let's talk about the two possible scenarios for Neji and Sasuke. Scenario 1 is that the jutsus cancel out and the explosion severely depletes the two fighters. Once they get up, they'll be low on chakra and they'll be beaten down and exhausted. Temari will be ready for the challenge, but they won't be. One or two wind styles will probably do the trick here, and they'll both be defeated by Temari. They'll be too tired to fight, and she'll capitalize on this in order to be the last one standing. As for scenario 2, this is where Sasuke breaks through the rotation and seriously wounds Neji, causing him to forfeit. He'll be pretty tired and have used up a great amount of chakra, but he'll be in much better shape than in scenario 1. Even while tired, I'd imagine he'd be better at taijutsu than at Temari. Also, when it comes to ninjutsu, Temari's wind style would only amplify Sasuke's fire style. They'll realize this when Sasuke charges a cancel out or wind style, or they may even have prior knowledge of this. Either way, she's at a disadvantage in both areas, so Sasuke definitely wins here. So there you have it. It's hard to predict a free-for-all, but I try my best. This is certainly one way it could happen. In Scenario 1, the order is Gaara, Naruto, Shikamaru, Kankuro, Shino, Sasuke, and Neji, and at first place, Temari. In Scenario 2, it's the same except Neji is third, Temari is second, and Sasuke is first. I actually wouldn't say that these are accurate when it comes to my standings among these 8 characters. Matchups and circumstances matter. Gaara gets double teamed and Naruto goes up against a bad matchup. It's just how it unfolded, even though they're on the upper half of the pecking order here. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos in the future. Comment something if you have something to say. And thank y'all for watching, and I guess I'll see y'all next time.